Advertising and the market process. 10. To sum up, the market for goods and the market for ideas. To sum up, what have we learned up to now? Two different views of advertising have been developed in the literature, which ascribe different roles to advertising. According to one theory, advertising has anti-competitive effects. It reduces the price elasticity of demand, it enhances market power, and creates a barrier to entry. According to another theory, advertising enhances competition because it has an informative role. Without advertising, consumers' choice, which ultimately depends on their knowledge of the alternatives available in the market, would be limited. Although in both cases the main concern is to predict the market outcome of advertising, that is to say, whether it increases or reduces market power, the different explanations on how advertising works ultimately depend on the concept of consumers. According to one view, consumers are passive. Advertising may have an informative or a persuasive intent, and insofar as it has a persuasive intent, it does persuade, as it acts by manipulation and by hammering. According to the other view, consumers are rational. They are able to correctly draw information from advertising, even if it apparently is persuasive. And the limit to the capacity of advertising to manipulate consumers is their control over the advertising message, which in turn depends on the product, on the characteristic of the product which is advertised. Now, what is left of this debate? A way of answering this question is to consider the institutional response to the concerns originated by the debate on advertising. Most developed countries in the world enforce laws regulating advertising. For example, the consumers' protection laws in the European Union and in the member states, in the United States, where laws regarding deceptive advertising are enforced either by the Federal Trade Commission or by federal or state authorities. In China, with the State Administration for Market Regulation, and in many other countries in the world. In addition, in many countries there are self-regulatory councils, such as the Advertising Self-Regulatory Council in the United States, which is charged with monitoring and evaluating truth and accuracy in advertising, or the Advertising Standards Authority in the United Kingdom, the Autorité de Régulation Professionnelle de la Publicité in France, the IAP, Istituto di Autodisciplina Pubblicitaria in Italy, and so on and so forth. In other countries, such as in addition to self-regulatory bodies operating in single countries, there are also international organizations which promote advertising self-regulation, such as the International Council for Advertising Self-Regulation or the European Advertising Standards Alliance, which sets out the operational standards for advertising self-regulatory systems. Advertising is kept under guard. The possibility for deceptive or false communication is taken very seriously in many parts of the world. Is this enough to eliminate any form of deceptive advertising? Maybe not, but this is not the point. Advertising is a form of communication. aimed at promoting sales. Under the definition of the European Union, for example, advertising is the making of a representation in any form in connection with a trade, business, craft or profession in order to promote the supply of goods or services, including immovable property, rights and obligations. As any form of communication, in principle, it can be persuasive, deceptive, false. It can cheat consumers up to certain limits, as we all learned. But also other forms of communication can be persuasive, deceptive, false, and as such, they can be harmful. Is all potentially false and harmful communication monitored as carefully as is advertising? In a famous article published in 1974, Ronald Coase observed that government regulation is considered desirable as far as economic activities are concerned, that is to say, in the market for goods, but it is considered undesirable if it concerns expression of opinion, freedom of speech, and so on, what it refers to as the market for ideas. In the words of Coase, in the market for goods, the government is commonly regarded as competent to regulate and properly motivated. Consumers lack the ability to make the appropriate choices. Producers often exercise monopolistic power, and in any case, without some form of government intervention, would not act in a way which promotes the public interest. Whereas, in the market for ideas, the position is very different. The government, if it attempted to regulate, would be inefficient, and its motives would in general be bad, so that even if it were successful in achieving what it wanted to accomplish, the results would be undesirable. Consumers, on the other hand, if left free, exercise a fine discrimination in choosing between the alternative views placed before them, while producers, whether economically powerful or weak, who are found to be so unscrupulous in their behavior in other markets, can be trusted to act in the public interest, whether they publish or work for the New York Times, the Chicago Tribune, or the Columbia Broadcasting System. Politicians whose actions sometimes pain us are in their utterances beyond reproach. And again, in the words of Coase, it is a not further of this attitude that commercial advertising, which is often merely an expression of opinion and might therefore be thought to be protected by the First Amendment, is considered to be part of the market for goods. The result is that government action is regarded as desirable to regulate or even suppress the expression of an opinion in an advertisement which, if expressed in a book or article, would be completely beyond the reach of government regulation. Now, the question is, are there fundamental differences between the market for goods and the market for ideas, which justify different public policies with regard to them? In all markets, producers have some reasons for being honest and some for being dishonest. Consumers have some information but are not fully informed or even able to digest the information they have. Regulators commonly wish to do a good job, and though often incompetent and subject to the influence of special interests, they act like this because, like all of us, they are human beings whose strongest motives are not the highest. Again, in the words of Coase, consider the question of preventing fraud. for which government intervention is commonly advocated. It will be difficult to deny that newspaper articles and speeches of politicians contain a large number of false and misleading statements. Indeed, sometimes they seem to consist of little else. Government action to control false and misleading advertising is considered highly desirable. Yet, a proposal to set up a federal press commission or a federal political commission modeled on the Federal Trade Commission would be dismissed out of hand. This is all for our course. For those who want to learn more, here is a list of some basic readings. Bye bye!